of Caribbean Evangelical Ministers. We are so excited that you're here with us this evening. I am Dr. Patricia Neff, your host for this evening, and we look forward to having an engaging discussion on the topic of love. So I'd like you to reach out to your friends, family members, neighbors, church brothers and sisters, invite them to come along and join us because we'd like to have them be a part of this conversation and to share the many questions that they may have. We have some gentlemen here on the panel that is willing and ready to answer those questions for you. So again, reach out to your friends, family, neighbors, church brothers and sisters, and whomever you like to call to come and join this conversation. For the month of February, we have been discussing, or we are focusing on the topic of love. Yes, it's the month where we have Valentine's Day, but love is something that runs throughout the year, and we are so excited that we can discuss that in the month of February. So again, do your call out, do your reach out. I'll give you 2 more seconds to send your text messages out. And after that, I will come back and welcome you again, and I will introduce to you our panelists for this evening. So only 2 seconds, and then we'll get started. It's a long 2 seconds. We welcome those of you on YouTube to also invite others to come and join the conversation. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk Family Life, brought to you by Faith Tabernacle and a team of Caribbean Evangelical Ministers who are united in the mission of building shatterproof families. And we do this through real talk, have real conversations about family life, about issues that impact our families. I am Dr. Patricia Neff. I am your host for this evening. And we are excited that you're here with us and that you will join in the conversation. We want to invite the audience to participate. And to do that, we ask that you either use the emojis to express your agreement, thumbs up, or any emoji that would express your agreement on what was said. But also, if you have questions that you'd like to ask, we would like you to put it in the chat or raise your hand so we can ask you to pose that question verbally. We have as our panelists this evening, Pastor Anthony Henry and Pastor John Francis. These are no strangers to us, but I will still have them introduce themselves just in case we have some guests who are on the line and don't know who they are. Last week, we had Bishop Garraway and Bishop Samuel, who started off the conversation, and boy, was it a riveting dialogue on the topic of the expectations of love. Today, we are going to talk about enjoying love. So I'm going to ask Pastor Francis to start off by introducing himself, and then Pastor Henry will follow him before we continue with the questions for today. Pastor Francis?
Good evening. I'm glad that you have asked me to introduce myself because I want to make it quite clear that I am John Francis. I realize Pastor Henry is bald-headed. I'm bald-headed. Both of us are wearing glasses. So, but I am John and Pastor Henry is Pastor Henry. Okay, with all that, good evening to the panel and the listening audience. I am looking forward to once again sharing on the topic called love. Permit me to repeat some things I said in the previous, not last week, only in a previous session, because repetition, as Dr. Neff would let us know, is a good way to learn. You repeat, what you repeat, you learn. Love in any form and language, whether eros, phileo, agape, or storge, was meant to be enjoyed because it was given by God. To enjoy the many facets of love, we must first discover what the different levels of love are. Love flourishes from a sense of being wanted and a sense of belonging. The best expression of love comes from people who understand what true love is. That's my opening comment.
Thank you, Pastor Francis. And yes, we recognize you as the also bald-headed, but with the background that's,
Yes,
nice reddish color. Thank you.
thank
Pastor
you.
Henry.
Thank you, Dr. Neff. So I am definitely different. My accent is different. It is neither Vincentian where I was born, neither is it Trinidad where I was educated and worked, nor is it Bajan where I am actually retired. So I'm a Caribbean man and I love the Lord. I've been saved for many years, gave my heart to the Lord back in 1969, and I've been serving as a pastor for many years. And one of the efforts that I made during COVID, one of my efforts during COVID was to write something for young people. It's a little book that is entitled Ready for Love, How About Marriage? So this is something, this topic is close to my heart, and I trust that we would find joy as we even discuss the subject, and more so find love as love touches our heart. Find joy, enjoyment as love touches our hearts.
Thank you, Pastor Henry. And I will say to the audience, this is not a little book, just a little book. It is not just a little book. It is a book that has some wealth of information, experience, nuggets that you can apply to your lives on a daily basis. So if you have an opportunity, go to Amazon and purchase that book because you will enjoy it and you will learn a whole lot. All right, let's dive into our topic of enjoying love. Thank you, gentlemen, for your introductions. And here's how we're going to get started. First, I'm going to tell you what the objectives are for this session. We have 3 objectives that will drive our conversation. 1, the physical, social, emotional, and spiritual enjoyment that flows from love is what we'll focus on. All right, notice I said physical, social, emotional, spiritual enjoyment. I know oftentimes we only think about the physical enjoyment, but there's a whole lot more to enjoying love. Objective number 2, we would like you to understand that love's enjoyment depends on the type of love, for example, romantic, consummate, empty, or passionate love that is shared by a couple. And objective number 3, we'd like you to understand that love's enjoyment is often dependent on one's expectations. All right. The first question that I have for our panelists this evening is, and it's kind of lengthy, so bear with me. Someone said, love is a many splendid thing. It's the April rose that only grows in the early spring. Love is nature's way of giving a reason to be living. The golden crown that makes a man a king. What about a woman? Okay, we're not going to go down that road. But I know many of you probably recognize these lyrics. Would you say that this is a good description of love? If so, should everyone feel the same way when they experience love? Pastor Francis, I'll begin with you.
Okay, what a question. Dr. Neff, permit me to answer the first part of the question with this short story that was once told about a couple who went for marital counseling. The counselor asked the reason for them getting married. The young one jumped to her feet and she said, "Sir, we are in love." The counselor asked her to define love. And this is what she said. She said, "Love is the feeling you feel when you feel you have a feeling that you never felt before." They got married, and about a year later, the counselor heard a knock on his door. When he invited the person in, it was the said young woman. And without any formal salutation, she said, "Sir, when I got married, I was looking for an ideal, but I got an ordeal, and now I want a new deal." Doesn't it sound like a game of cards? I want to verify the fact that true love on a romantic level comes with such feelings that at times can be described as being full of splendor but it goes deeper than just feelings. All aspects of love do not cause everyone to feel the same way. Even in romantic love, which is eros, we do not all feel the same way. Love looks different. Love looks different depending on how it is received. We will never fully enjoy love until we fully understand what true love looks like. And that comes from those who express love to us, especially in our early childhood. We can have a negative concept of love because of the love we experience in our early childhood. Love is first expressed between both parents. And as adults, we live out the kind of love that have been demonstrated to us by our parents and guardians. When it comes to love, first impression is lasting, and there is hardly a second chance for first expression. Let me just say one more thing before I do. When I went to Bible school, I did a subject called Scriptural Psychology of You. My report reveals that I did not grow up in a house with a man. Clearly, it was just accurate. But the woman, mainly the woman, their report reveals, and this was the heading, "Why am I afraid to love?" And it is because of the first love experience, whether it was eros, phileo, agape, whatever, not agape, phileo, because it was a negative one. And some of those persons have never survived that trauma of that first love experience, whatever form it came in, even up to today. For such persons, they are still struggling to enjoy love. Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Francis. And thank you for that story that was told at the beginning. I think that kind of set the stage and put things into perspective. Pastor Henry, what do you say?
Dr. Neff, I love the love songs. I love this one, the one that you quoted. Love is a many splendid thing. It's the nature's way of giving a reason for living. It's the April rose that grows in the early spring. Love is nature's way of giving a reason to be living. I tend to somehow disagree with that part of the song. All of the descriptions are true, except love is nature's way of giving a reason for living. You live whether you want to or not, whether you have many reasons why you would want to live, but not necessarily love. Love is nature's way of giving a reason for dying. Love gives a reason for dying. Read Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, and you would understand what I'm talking about. The Apostle John, brother of our Lord Jesus Christ. This is how we know what love is. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and sisters. 1 John 3:16. The feeling of love is a combination of emotions and behaviors. And that include intimacy, passion, and commitment. It involves virtues such as care, closeness, protectiveness, attraction, affection, and trust. And so the physiological desire for love, which is similar to hunger, thirst, sleep, sex, drive, is the one that most people know. Mm-hmm. However, according to Zick Rubin, He says that love establishes three basic categories of feelings. First, there is attachment, needing to be with another person and desiring physical contact and approval. Then there is caring, the whole idea of valuing the other person's happiness and needs as much as your own, so that when you fall in love, you want somebody to care for you and you want somebody to value, even though they you want value to be given to your feeling, to your happiness. And then there is intimacy, sharing private thoughts and feelings and desires with the other person. And so love has those sort of emotions. And, as we discuss this whole topic of love, we need to understand that all of this is coming into play. So it's not just the as Pastor Francis said with the young lady, having this big outburst and this feeling that you're ready, and so you're ready to jump into marriage. Love is a lot more than that. It's a lot more than that. And when you really find true love that you have given yourself to, that you would enjoy, you find something inside that tells you that, for this person, I am willing to die. Ask the mother whose house is on fire and the child is in that house, and you would see how much love she has, because whether she considers herself or her safety or what, she doesn't consider her safety, she doesn't consider what would happen to her, but there is only one thing that is at stake in that burning fire, the saving of her love that lies in that house. And so when we start to enjoy love, we know that when we start to discover the enjoyment of love, that's one of the things that we would discover, that this person, I am ready to die for this person. As I said, too many people are just concerned about the physical feeling that I can get for the person, or I can get from the person, I can give to the person. But love is a lot more than that. Love is one that you're willing to die for. I think it was Jesus who said, greater love has no man than this, than one who's laid down his life for his friends. Thank you.
Wow, what a great beginning. I want to probe a little bit more, because both gentlemen have said a lot, but I picked something out from each of them, and I want to probe a little further. Pastor Francis, you said that love's first impression is lasting. Is that why it's often said that it's very difficult for one to forget one's first love?
It is not impossible. It is possible for one to forget one's love. If it was not possible, then we would have been wrecked perpetually. There would have been no help for us. But it's not as easy as it is. The first impression, I know of people, but this is not love, but it happened through who did it to her, called love. And she was raped at the age of 8. Even through her married life, growing up, she struggled. I would say mercilessly, because maybe she did not sought the right help, and her life was never the same from that age. That it's not impossible, but you need to seek help and make sure you do it very early before it takes a toll of you and you start doing the wrong thing to satisfy what you yourself think is love. So again, it's not impossible, but you must seek the proper help that is going to bring, for want of a better word, deliverance to you in that area.
So with a negative first impression, it's imperative that one seeks the correct help to deal with the trauma that was experienced with that negative first impression. But then on the other hand, with a positive first impression of love, that did not survive.
Mhm.
I've heard of people who tend to, because that first relationship of love didn't survive. However, to that person, it was a positive love experience.
Mhm.
It's very difficult for them to engage in other relationships because they tend to measure
Okay.
the new person, or then against that first love experience, because nothing ever measured up to what their experience was, and therefore it was difficult for them to really have a real love experience or relationship because of that, of losing that first love.
So both in the negative and the positive, it could work against you. That is why in my teaching, I use something I call finding your own thumbprint. Find your own thumbprint, because this is sometimes people don't enjoy love because we try to, and you may hear me say it later on in my notes, we may try to enjoy love dressed in another man's coat. And I use that principle from Samuel when he was going to fight a Goliath. He was dressed in King Saul's armor, and he was not comfortable in it. So sometimes our joy comes because our joy does not come because we dress in another man's coat, but we must find our own thumbprint. And you'll hear me repeating that again. When we find that thumbprint, I call it John's method. So the first thing is you find what works for you. When you find what works for you, develop it. When you develop it, stick to it. And most all the time, if we take that road, not merely my road, but just you will find yourself enjoying it. So we find what works for us, we develop it, we stick to it, and we will enjoy it.
And Pastor Henry, when you gave your list of things that are indicative of love, you mentioned the word trust. That was one of the words, one of the characteristics you mentioned. Do you see trust and love going hand in hand? And if trust is not present, or if trust is lost, what impact does it have on love?
Well, it depends. It depends on the stage of love and the how should I put it? The type of love that you are engaged in. All right, because I'll explain a little later. You have a type of love that is not committed, and so if trust is lost, no love is lost. All right. Let's say the guy who has his wife, he loves his wife, but he has a deputy. All right. So with the deputy, he is able to communicate, he is sharing feelings, and there is attachment with the deputy. But trust is now one of the things for that relationship, because the deputy knows that she can't trust him. All right. But love in itself, the complete love, as I would explain, consummate love, you need all of those factors in order to enjoy love. So that in some of the other forms of love, whereas you enjoy them, it's not necessarily that you are going to find the fullness, the full enjoyment of love. And so when you come to experience that full enjoyment where you share in all the aspects of love, you can fully enjoy your love.
Thank you. I'm going to go out to the chat and see if anyone has posed a question. I don't see anything as yet. I want to encourage you, audience members, put your comments or your questions in the chat so we can address them for you. All right, I'm going to move on to question number 2. And again, this is another lengthy one with many parts. What are the dominant, pleasurable feelings of love? And do they differ by individuals or by the type of love one may experience. For example, love for a child and love between the genders, love for newlyweds, love for those who have celebrated their 60th anniversary are quite different, right? So I'm going to go back to the question. What are those dominant, pleasurable feelings of love, and do they differ by individuals or by the type of love one may experience? Pastor Henry, I'll start with you.
Yes, so the pleasurable feelings would differ depending on the distribution of the three major components of love that is shared in a relationship. So I am going to share, allow me to share my screen and talk these through for a while. Okay, so let me see here. I need to just go here, share screen. This one, share. Right. So if I go here, slideshow. Okay, great. So that this is the Sternberg's triangle of love. And so Sternberg gave us this nice whole idea of different types of love: romantic love, infatuation, fatuous love. And it may be a little difficult to go through each one on the screen here. So let me go in the next presentation. So here now you have the type of love, have the component, and there are basically three different types of components here in love. Intimacy. And intimacy is not the boy and the girl playing with each other. This is about sharing your thoughts, somebody you communicate with, your personal feelings. You had a bad night and you're able to call this friend and talk to them and so on. And then there is passion, and that's the part with the sexual side and the feelings that we always refer to. And then you have commitment. So on the friendship, you may have a friendship relationship, and all that exists there is the only component there is the intimacy. You talk with each other, you express yourself to each other, but there is no commitment. This is the kind of love that the politicians talk to you about when they tell you that they love you. They're glad for your donations. Anytime something goes wrong, they throw you under the bus. All right, like Judas. He was a friend of Jesus. He would kiss him when he knew that he wanted he would sell them to get some extra money. There is a friendship, there is a love, but there are other things that are more important than the person. And so there is no passion, there is no commitment, just straight friendship. Then you have infatuation. You're deeply in love. You really want to get your hands on that person, like Amnon, if you remember the story of Absalom's brother. And as soon as you have satisfied yourself and that feelings has gotten its full, you don't want to see the person again. And oftentimes, I think this is one of the things that Pastor Francis was talking about in his opening. These feelings that come over you that you think that you must be with this person, sort of a thing. Then you have the empty love. And so again, you need to know what sort of enjoyment you will get from empty love. After the 60th anniversary, for some reason or the other, the two old people don't have any much to talk about again. The passion is dead, right? And the only thing that is there is the commitment. They are not going to give the lawyer any money for divorce, to split up house and what have you, because they have made a vow to each other, until death we do part. But all the other things in life that were there before, it's intimacy and what have you and so on. My wife told me sometime that these two old people were so much in love that the guy had no problem sharing his false teeth with his wife. That to me is intimacy and commitment and passion to at that age. And then you have romantic love. And again, there is a measure of enjoyment here, but it has its drawbacks also. So you have intimacy. You find somebody where you can talk to, somebody who you can relate to, somebody that you can converse with, but you have the passion. So you sleep with that person, go to bed with that person, but you're not going to make that person your wife. There are a number of men who go through life with this kind of a thing. That woman is good to be their child's mother. She is good enough to be everything else, but I am not going to commit to you to be a wife. Sparrow was one of those guys. If he sang, what was the song, boy? Melda, something you're making, wedding plan, carrying my name to Obia, man. All you do, you ain't get through, and you won't get through, still ain't gonna marry to you. And so he was sleeping with the woman, living with the woman, and no commitment in the relationship. And even when the woman would try whatever means she had to get married, he still has no commitment to marry to that person. So that's the kind of thing you talk about romantic. That's how you see romantic love. And so some people enjoy that. They enjoy the intimacy and they enjoy the passion, but there is no commitment. And then you have companionate love. And you have here now intimacy and commitment. There is no passion, and there is no need to be a passion because this could be between people of the same sex, like David and Jonathan. They entered into a covenant. That's commitment, that they're going to die for each other. That is love. That is true love. But as far as this passion is concerned, the physical side of it, that is out of it. So there is companion, you just have the person there as a companion. Sadly, there are people in life of the opposite sex who have good friends like this. They commit themselves to the relationship that they're in. But we are not going to sleep with each other. We are not going to get involved in passion with each other. We just love each other as good friends. And they talk to each other about everything. They're committed. They would look out for one another. And so you have this type of companionate love. And then there is fatuous love. And so you have passion and commitment. This is the one that Pastor Francis talked about in his introduction. And so you have love at first sight. And so I'm ready to get married, I must confess that this one, it took me over at one time because when I met my current wife, the way I introduced myself and express my first intention to her, and I still have the email that I sent. We weren't in the same place, so I sent the email. I still have it in paper copy. I told her that I love her, and in the same email, I told her I want to get married to her. So I didn't have any form of intimacy. I didn't know the woman, whether she was the angry type, whether she was the mad type, whether she was I don't know what type of woman she was. I didn't know much about her. I had a relationship before 22 years. I thought that every woman was the same. And so I was willing to commit without understanding that I needed to develop that stage of intimacy. Thank God she had more sense than I did. And then you have consummate love. And if you notice now, there is intimacy, there is passion, there is commitment. It is at this stage you find perfect love. It is at this stage for couples, for people who want to get married, that you are finding that you enjoy love in its fullest, because as married people, you want all three components of love. So that can I enjoy love in a friendship? Yes, I can. Can I enjoy love? Can someone enjoy, not me, I would not enjoy love with just passion alone. Could someone enjoy empty love? Yes, probably when I get to another 20 years or so, in my anniversary, another 20 years, the teeth have fallen out, the eyes can't see and what have you. And both of us now are in our 90s and what have you and so on. Probably the love may end up like being, I don't know. And then you have the romantic love. Am I going to enjoy the romantic love? Not necessarily. I don't think I would. The companionate love, yes, they are good friends of mine, that I do have like this, that good buddies, male and female, but we know our distance. We know where we are taking this friendship. And the last one, as I said, I'm too old for fatuous love now. I have my commitment and what have you and so on. And then the consummate love, that's the one that I share and enjoy at the moment. So it depends on what stage you are at and where you are at.
All right. Well, this was an awesome love lesson. I tell you, I was taking notes. Pastor Henry, I must admit that this is the first that I'm hearing of the term the deputy. I've never heard it referred to in those terms. Is that your term or is it one?
No. There was a calypso many years ago in Trinidad. The guy sang the calypso, and the calypso was entitled "Deputy is Essential."
Dr. Neff, you need to come back home.
Yes, so
Essential, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Penguin was the Calypsonian name.
Penguin. The Calypsonian name was Penguin.
Penguin? Okay.
Yeah.
I may have to check that out.
Yeah.
So, Pastor Francis, now it's your
Okay.
turn. I know Pastor Henry did a whole lecture on this, but let's hear from you.
I will be brief. Pastor Henry has mentioned two aspects of love that I had in my notes. Maybe I'll just skip it, but compassionate love and passionate love. But let me go back to the dominant pleasurable feelings of love. What I will say that the dominant pleasurable feelings of love are determined by the type of love expressed and the type of love experience. Two E words there. So the dominant pleasurable feelings of love are determined by the type of love expressed and experienced. The way love is expressed may determine how it is experienced. Feelings of love will differ from person to person because their experience and expectation are not the same. For example, an abused person who have not been healed and have entered another relationship may have problems receiving and also expressing love in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
If we focus on the examples given, such as love between the sexes and love for those celebrating the 60th anniversary, we must look at passionate love versus compassionate love. Pastor Henry explained that. I don't need to go, but let me just run through my notes, whatever. Passionate love places focus on intense feelings, such as in the case of romantic love between a man and a woman. However, compassionate love is characterized by its level of intimacy. Compassionate love is also about trust, which Pastor Henry talked about, commitment, which he talked about. Maybe we share the same notes somewhere, and affection. In a long-term relationship, passionate love may develop into compassionate love. People who are in compassionate love still feel passionate about one another, but it does not feel as urgent. This type of love involves caring deeply for the other person, truly knowing the other individual and being committed to the other person is both good and sometimes bad at times. Even when disagreement takes place, people who share compassionate love, sometimes they remain in love and dedicate themselves to one another. Example, compassionate love of people who will stay. You may not have been, you may run out of the passion of the love. Pastor Henry explained that. But because the person is sick, compassionate love kicks into it. You stay there. Your compassion for the person allows you to stay there, tend for them, see about them, and maybe until their demise come or until something else happens. So it depends. The feeling of, let me just go back and say what I said in my opening comment that is going to crown my answer to this question. The dominant pleasurable feelings of love are determined by the type of love expressed and experienced. Full stop.
Okay. So Pastor Henry gave us a really nice lesson on the different types of love and the different relationships that express the different types of love, the intimacy, passionate, commitment, and the relationships that go along with those. And Pastor Francis kind of expressed some of that as well. But he also said that the dominant feeling of love depends on the experience and expression of love, and that one does impact the other. So this is awesome. I loved what you shared, but something is still missing for me from the question, okay? Because the question was, what are the dominant pleasurable feelings of love? So I would like to come back to you, gentlemen, and ask you to give us some examples of what are considered to be the dominant pleasurable feelings of love.
Okay.
That go along with what you've already shared, which was awesome.
All right. So it depends. What the thing is, depends on the type of love that you share.
Right.
Okay, that's the first thing. Is it a friendship? Is it infatuation? Is it empty love? Is it romantic love? Is it consummate love? So it depends on the type of love that you are experiencing.
Right.
And based on the type of love that you're experiencing, you can single out, or you can determine the type of feelings that you are going to experience. So that if it's just basically friendship, you feel good just into conversation with that person, because you're not thinking about passion, you're not thinking about necessarily commitment, just sitting down and talking, sharing ideas. What happened to me at work today, and listening to what went through at work, and just sharing different thoughts. That brings a measure of enjoyment to those two people. If you are talking, however, about consummate love, the one that you need for marriage, then all of the feelings must exist. All of the feelings need to exist in order to make love an enjoyable feeling in the relationship. And I can't really describe what, feelings may differ, not feelings do differ, depends on the individual. But at least if you are in a marriage relationship and you love each other, there must be intimacy. And as I said, intimacy is not just the holding of the hands and the kissing and what have you. That may lead into passion, but intimacy is about sharing of the heart, sharing of what is inside, the thoughts, the things that are troubling you, the things that you need to know about the other person. And so once you are doing that, that creates a measure of enjoyment for a married couple. That's where the trust comes in, because the guy goes out there and does something foolish. He comes back home and he say, my dear, you know, I made a big mess up here. I did this such and such. And so when somebody is talking about it, the wife already knows exactly what he did. And so the wife enjoys that sort of a love in the relationship. They both enjoy it. And then we all know what the passion is about. It is the whatever the spark is that creates that romantic feeling, that creates that feeling for a sexual relationship. That is passion. And then you have the commitment. It's not just the words, for better or for worse, for richer or for poorer. As Pastor Francis said, it is being there when the person is sick. You have to, you know, you go to work, and then from work, you go to the hospital and you stay there hours into the night at the bedside. And then when you leave, you get home, and then next morning you are back at the bedside to make sure that everything is all right before before you get to you get to work again. That's the kind of a thing that make that sort of a love relationship where there is marriage enjoyable.
Dr. Neff, I should just come in and just
Yes.
add one more thing too. And this caption, well, going back to the question, what is the question again? What
are the dominant pleasurable feelings?
Okay, and we
of
have
love?
made it quite clear, it all depends, but there is something I call mutual enjoyment. And there are times when those within our love circle, all they need is just mutual enjoyment.
Mm-hmm.
And by this, I mean you spend time together just for the joy of it. What you say and do is not so important, but the time spent where genuine love was expressed leaves the parties feeling satisfied. Unfortunately, the busyness of life makes us forget what a joy this can be. So sometimes it's just mutual enjoyment. We just sit down, we just talk. We don't matter what we eat, what we are doing here, we are just expressing love in the way where we feel comfortable, and maybe without eating, satisfied.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dr. Neff, one of the things I can say there also is that sometimes we, you know, the sexes, how should I put it? They appreciate, and their feeling of love is different.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So even with passion, where it is this whole thing that, you know, the nervous system and everybody gets involved. What triggers that for a man is not the same that will trigger for a woman. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I always say in my counseling class that if you do not know how to stir your wife, and you expect her to be stirred and to be get into that same feeling as you would for a passionate moment, you are mistaken, because touching and what have you is not going to create the same enjoyment that it would for you when you are touched. As a matter of fact, you know, a man doesn't even, you don't even have to touch him. You just have to pass close to him. And the thing is that what happens in that moment, that the wife should have been prepared from the morning before, the night before, through the conversations, through the things that are being said, the compliments that are being made, all of that you're doing to help your wife to enjoy love, to help your partner to enjoy love, so that it's different. And you have to know what would cause the person, that you're in love with, what would cause the person to enjoy love, so you can give to them. And that's why I said in my opening, love is not about you and living. Love is about learning to die so that the other person can live.
Mhm. Thank you all so much. I love what you said, Pastor Francis, about it being mutual enjoyment. And when you explained it, it's about spending time with, whether it's having dinner, going to a movie, having deep conversations, just spending that quality time and mutually enjoying each other is a great expression, a great expression of love. And I also like, Pastor Henry, what you said about male and female experiencing or being stimulated by love differently. That is so true. But what I gathered from what you said, and tell me if I'm wrong, what basically you said that for men in general, for men, it's more visual stimulation.
Yes.
Okay. But for women, it's more intellectual stimulation.
That's correct. Yes.
Just want to make sure I got that right.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
It is. It is.
Okay.
Dr. Neff, permit
Yes,
me to
sir.
just add one little ingredients in the pot.
Yes.
Yeah, I know it tastes good, but let me just add one little. Under that caption, I have the giving and receiving of love. Now, I don't believe that when it comes to giving and receiving love, it must be balanced evenly on the scale.
Right.
I don't believe that. Sometimes one party or one person will be the primary giver, and sometimes the other person may be the one to give more love, if we could put it that way. But true love and friendship are always two-sided. It's not one-sided. So this time I may be required to show more love because of this circumstance and the situation that warrants me doing that. The other time, the other party. But when we come to true love and friendship, it's two-sided. We must all play our part.
Do our part. Absolutely. And just so we don't leave out the other types of love, with a parent and a child, a dominant pleasurable feeling for a parent and for the child is when the parent expresses pride in something the child has done.
Yes.
And the child sees that pride and that the parent has for them based on them having done something well. The protectiveness that a parent feels for a child is another way of expressing love. The affection and the attention a parent gives to a child is also very, very important. And it's important because, as a parent educator, the affection, attention piece is very important to me, because I tell my parents that if you don't show attention and affection for your children, they will seek it somewhere, because it's a need, it's a basic need for a child to feel that affection from their parents and to gain their attention. And they will seek it out wherever they can. And if you don't give it to them, they will seek it out. And I also share that for children, negative attention is just as good as positive attention. They just need attention. So you find a child may act up, misbehave repeatedly, because the only time that child gets attention from that parent is when they act up, right? All of the other times when the child is being good and is being helpful and is doing positive things, the parent does not give attention to that. They ignore it. They just see it as, well, that's what you're supposed to do, right? But when that child acts up or acts inappropriately, that child gets the parent's full, undivided attention. And that's what that child needs, attention. So negative attention is just as good as positive. So I encourage my parents to focus on giving more positive attention to children so they don't seek your attention through negative means. And it's the same thing even with other relationships, even with friendship relationships. That's a good way of expressing love, by showing that pride and protection, affection, and attention. All right. I check the chat and I see that there is something there. Let's see. Peace, appreciation, celebration of accomplishments, comfort, honor, tender care. Absolutely. Those are some wonderful, wonderful attributes and of love.
Okay.
All right. And then some Tyra is saying amen. She agrees. All right. I know time is running along, but let me go to the next question. In our discussion last week, we talked about expectations in relationships. Would you say that expectations play a role in the level of enjoyment that lovers share among themselves? Pastor Francis?
Unmute. Okay, thank you. Tanef. Let us first talk about reasonable versus unrealistic expectations in relationship, because those things do happen.
Mm-hmm.
Expectations set the tone for relationship and determine the respect and level of trust in the relationship. It plays a role in the preparation. Let me just break for my notes and say that, as I say, it plays a role in the preparation, because when, I almost wanted to make a joke, but when a woman goes at the doctor and they tell her, the gynecologist, say, you're pregnant. Let me use the old time words. They used to say, you're expecting. I don't know if you all still use it. You are expecting.
Yes.
Immediately, she start making preparation. Immediately, in some way or the other, she starts making preparation. So preparation plays a role. It sets the tone. Expectation, it sets the tone for preparation of the future love and the future life. But expectations cannot or should not be cast in stone. And I will tell you why. The root must change if there are unrealistic expectations. Only a fool will continue driving in a direction when he realizes that if he continues, it will take him to the wrong destination. So he has to change his route. We must consider what informs our expectation. It is unrealistic to assume that expectations cannot and will not change based on the circumstances in the relationship. Unrealistic expectations that need to be altered or changed should not affect the love relationship, because true love endures hardship and weathers the storm. And here for 2 minutes, my wife is sitting next to me. I make note of that because I want to say something in the form of a testimony. So before you all call her and tell her testify, let me tell her she's here. 42 years ago, my wife and I walked down the aisle, so to speak. And when we got married, we had expectation of having babies of our own that comes from our loins, my loins and her womb. Unfortunately, that did not materialize. Did our relationship end for that? Oh no. Oh no. Do we still hold on to this expectation? Well, then I have to be Abraham and she got to be Sarah. And I don't think, but the moral of my story is, without that expectation being realized, we still love each other. And I could say to say that I think we love each other more. So expectation is good, but you must not allow the unrealistic expectation or the expectation that cannot be fulfilled or may not be fulfilled because of not your no one's fault. We should not allow that to disturb the peace, the harmony, and the love we have one for another. Because children could come not only from your loin and womb, but you could come through adoption. And not if you choose not to adopt, you could still be happily married.
That's
So
right.
expectation has its place, but it must not be unrealistic. And if it needs to change, it must be changed.
Awesome. Thank you, Pastor Francis. Pastor Henry.
Yeah, so I fully concur with Pastor Francis. There's one thing that you need to bear in mind with expectation is that many a times you get into a relationship based on a relationship that you had prior. And so if you dealing with your banker and you had a bad experience with the previous one, you tend to be cautious. You tend to to be very, very slow in opening up and what have you. In a relationship, and I think that most people who are listening to this program, they're thinking about husband, wife, or husband and wife to be. And so when you are getting into that kind of a relationship, it is important that you do not allow or you do not bring into that relationship the traumas of the past or the baggage. I usually call the baggage of the previous relationship. There's sort of an expectation also because you had certain conflicts in the past, certain problems in the past. You do not bring those into the relationship that you start into a new relationship. So if you need to be very careful with your expectations. Don't expect the person to behave the same way as the person that you dealt with before, whether it was good or bad, right? Then you manage your expectations. Let your expectations be tied to personal values and your mission. And so when you discuss your expectations with your partner, and this is important because if you have one of the things that one of the ways of managing expectations is to move those expectations to a point where the person knows, so that they're not only something that you're expecting, but your partner knows about what you are thinking and what your feelings about a situation is. So the more you talk about your expectations, the greater it helps. And so when you discuss your expectations with your partner, always remember you are not your partner's God. Let me say that again. When you share your experience with your partner, what you expect in a relationship, you're not sharing those with your partner as though you are God, right? And if you choose to be God, remember you can only make your expectations known. There's no way you can force the other person to comply with your expectations. And if you want to be like God, you do not force the person to comply with your expectations. Okay, last week I heard about the cooking and all of these different things and what have you and so on. Well, if you had the expectation to eat a hot meal every day and somehow your wife is not the cooking type, or your partner is not the cooking type, that should have been talked about while in courtship. And so now that you are married, let's say you didn't talk about it, and now that you are married, you do not make those demands in a way as to create problems for your wife, because love says that if we are going to enjoy this together, we have to make life for each other as comfortable as possible. And so if you take the lead, if you think you are the man, and sometimes we as the men, we say, I'm the boss here, and so if you take the lead in expressing your expectations, remember that as the leader, you are still and you're only a servant leader. Right? And in an effort to serve your partner, you make his or her expectations just as or even more important than yours. It's the whole idea of giving, and I'll probably wrap up with that in my closing statement, but it's the more you give, the more you get in a relationship.
Thank you, gentlemen. Gosh, all these nuggets. I have a book right here in front of me. But I do like what you said, Pastor Francis, about those. Sometimes we have unrealistic expectations, and once we recognize that the expectations are unrealistic, we must work towards changing them. And so, because if we hold on to those unrealistic expectations, that's a recipe for conflict in our relationships. And Pastor Henry, prior relationships do inform new relationships, and that's why it's important for people who experience trauma or disappointment, difficulty, hurt, and harm in their relationship. Before rushing into another relationship, they need to work through that trauma, and they need to seek help for addressing those things, because as humans, we have that tendency to bring with us whatever baggage we have, right? So we have to get to the point where we can lay that baggage down and try to enter the new relationship without baggage from the old relationship, because again, that is a recipe for conflict and additional trauma. And then we may end up traumatizing the new partner. And we must learn to manage our expectations so that they're not unrealistic. I do want to ask this fourth question. I know I am aware of time, the time is fleeting, but I have to ask this fourth question, and I'm going to ask the gentlemen to kind of condense their responses as much as possible. After several emotional fights, the couple no longer experience enjoyment in being with each other. Can you provide some first aid information to help the lovers find pleasure in their love life, to rekindle the fire that was once there? Pastor Francis?
I will be very short. I'll try to make it short, but I hope by the time we arrive, it's not too late. We can resuscitate the people. We're given first aid. Okay, so I'm just gonna, may I hasten to say that all relationships tend to have some form of conflict and disagreement first. Since love is of God, once we experience and we go through it the right way, we could give some help. So let me just give my first aid tip. And I call my own the 4 R's. To resuscitate the relationship, I'm going to use 4 R's, and I'm going to just give the R without elaborating. Time is against us. 1, have respect for one another. 2, repent. 3, reconcile. And 4, try to restore the relationship. So let me just go. How do we have respect for one another? The question is, how do we mend the broken relationship? Through respect, by not allowing obstacles or circumstances to become more important than the relationship. Never allow it to become more important than the relationship. When the pressure is on, continue to treat one another with patience, kindness, and respect. And when the relationship is struggling, do what is within your power to preserve it. That's respect. Second, repent. There must be a willingness to confess what went wrong and to compromise if necessary. The sincerity of one's love must be proven, and repentance is a good place to start. Both parties must be honest about where they went wrong and be committed to saying sorry. Third R, reconcile. The first thing, if you want to put it in sequence, you could say the first thing is to seek reconciliation, which simply means coming to make peace with one another through the meeting of the mind, using the biblical principle that says, come, let us reason together. And the fourth thing is restore, return to the place of your first love. I don't think any relationship started bad overnight. Some may start with, but there must be some spark that that caught one another. Return to the place of your first love. When we pray about it and we create an atmosphere in the home that promotes safety, and we pray about it and we let me get it. We pray about it and we create an atmosphere in the home that promotes safety, love, and reconciliation. That's all I will say about the first aid tip. I hope that those 4 R's may help somebody.
Thank you, Pastor Francis. Pastor Henry?
Yeah, so the first thing I would say is to identify which of the love component that contributed to the conflict. Is it in the area of intimacy? Are we talking? Are we communicating the way we are supposed to? Is it the passion? Have we lost the desire for each other? Or is it the commitment? Is it that I feel that you are no longer committed to the relationship, or you feel that I'm no longer committed to the relationship? So if it's into intimacy, look at the areas where you have your disagreements. Oftentimes, it's not that you're against each other, but it's just that you disagree on the way things are supposed to be done. Talk about them. Start on the premise. And I want to say this very carefully. So you both start off on this premise. You are not right, neither am I. But together, we are both right. Learn to lose the least important fights to claim a win on the one that matters you most. So there are times when you have to give in and say, all right, you win. Stephen Covey says, learn how to do the win-win game. So you can't win all the time, right? You learn to lose to win. Next, if it's in the area of passion, it's one of the major factors for the breakdown in love relationships. Both sexes must learn what arouses their partner's passion. Women who use passion to find that intimate moment often discovers that the man goes to sleep once he has reached the climax of his passion. Right, so that you have to talk with each other, even when it is in the area of passion. You need to sit down and talk. The Apostle Paul says about this in the whole relationship of passion. He says, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others. And I have underscored for this point, it is not self-seeking. So love is not self-seeking. It's not about you. It's about the other person. All right. And then finally, in the area of commitment, no one can love more than God. Remember that. Mm-hmm. And he will never force anyone to make a commitment that they do not want to. And so if you don't feel loved in the relationship, you don't feel that the person, your lover, is committed, even though, you know, don't try to be, not if you try to be God, try to be like God, because he doesn't force anybody to remain committed to him. So if your partner breaches his or her commitment, you can be like God, right? Because love forgives and love forgets. And somebody say, where you find that in the Bible? It's from the same passage that I just read. It says, love is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. And I underscored on this note, it keeps no record of wrongs.
Yeah.
So if the person did something that was untrustworthy, that was where they broke the commitment last week, and you said, all right, I forgive you, you forget it. And then they come back this week and they said they did the same thing where you didn't remember what happened last week, as they are doing it for the first time. And so in love, remember that one of the virtues of love is forgiveness. One of the strongest virtues of love is forgiveness. And you take that medicine all the time. When something goes wrong in this area of commitment, you will be all right.
Wow. My bucket is full. As a matter of fact, it's overflowing. I have learned so much and gained so many nuggets from you gentlemen tonight. And I know that our audience has as well, because they've been very quiet, which means, like me, they've been feverishly taking notes, writing things down, adding to their toolkit some of the tools that you've provided for us this evening. So, gentlemen, please get your closing remarks together. I'm going to look once more in the chat to see if anyone has a question or if they would raise their hand. Let me check and see if we have any raised hands waiting to be acknowledged before we close this up. Okay. All right. Everyone is still here.
Yep.
All right. Once again, I want to thank everyone for being with us tonight. This topic is one that is relevant to everyone. Love is one of those things that we all enjoy and experience and live by. God is love. It started there, right? So let's continue to come out on Saturday evenings and learn more about love. We will continue this conversation throughout this month of February. And we have some more amazing panelists in store for you. So we're going to ask the panelists now to give us their closing remarks. Pastor Francis, I'll have you begin again.
Okay, yes. I'm very short in my closing remarks. So in closing, I want you to know that I firmly believe that love in its many facets is meant for us to enjoy. For love is a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing to give love and to receive love. But at the same time, it could be very costly. So my question to us all this evening is, are we willing and ready to pay the price that true love demands? I hope so. Thank you. God bless you, and good night.
Thank you, Pastor Francis. Pastor Henry?
Love is a many splendid thing. It's the April rose that grows in the early spring. When you have found it, it changes your life. And when you have experienced it and you have come to appreciate it, it takes your life. And so what would life be without it? And so those of you who have found that love, you found love in another person, in God, in your work, whatever it is, be grateful to God for the gift, for giving of himself to us so that we can learn to be like him. We can learn to love. Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. And again, audience, thank you so much for coming out this evening to be here with us to learn from these wise gentlemen. And we so appreciate you all. We look forward to seeing you next week. Next week, we will be focusing on the, I'm going to try to miss one. We'll be focusing on enduring love. Enduring love. So come out next week to join us for that discussion on enduring love. We look forward to seeing you here again. Pastor Henry, now for your closing remarks as the lead pastor. Anything else you'd like to say?
No, I'm okay. Just say thanks, and thanks for having everyone. That's it. I know we're over time, so.
All right. Thank you all, and good evening.
Good night.
Good night.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Good evening. Bye.
Good evening. Good evening.